Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Retro Wrestling Room. We have a very special guest with us today. Somebody you may know because they're making quite a bit of a scene in the US indie scene at the moment. They're definitely starting to make some waves. We have the girl that goes beyond, the queen of bop style, your hero, Airica Demia on the channel today. How's it going?
Hello, I'm happy to be here. Very excited. Thank you for having me.
That's okay, no problem at all. It's lovely to have you on the show today. First off, before we go any further, we have to say a big congratulations for the big win at the end of last year. Uh, end of last month, I meant to say, when you won the Spark Joshi Pacific title at Ignite, Texas. What
Wow.
was it like winning that title, and how was the match for you?
Uh, Very hard hitting.
Yeah.
I got the crap beat out of me, but I gave them everything that I had in return, and it paid off. I was a little bit shocked, if I'm being honest, being against two like very tough opponents, especially ones that hit so hard. But I did it, and I'm very proud of that fact.
It was such an incredible match, and I mean, it must have been, a dream, not just Vert, but, also Miyu as well, because she's just got such an incredible reputation all around the globe at the moment. You know, every time she comes to the UK, it's like this big thing. Everybody's, clambering to try and get that match with her as well, you know, when she's on local shows. So to be able to get that match and then to win a title for Spark as well, it must have been an amazing feeling.
It really was. I've seen a ton of both of their work, and I was super nervous and super excited going into it because I'm like, "Oh my god, these girls are so amazing, and I'm in this match too. Oh my goodness!" Like it was just a bunch of panicky feelings, a bunch of excitement, and a little bit of imposter syndrome, if I'm being honest with
Mm,
you. That was my first time ever having like a match of that kind of style, if that makes sense.
mm.
And not gonna lie, I in my the back of my head, there was this tiny voice telling me I was gonna fail, but I didn't. I did not fail. I did good, and I'm I'm really happy about it.
Going back to like the very start, what are some of your earliest memories of pro wrestling? And when did you find that you fell in love with pro wrestling?
So, oh my goodness, my earliest memories. So, I grew up watching my dad wrestle in a
Mhm.
local indie fed. So, I'm pretty sure I was in strollers watching wrestling, but I wouldn't remember that. um Some of my earliest memories would definitely be my dad wearing tassels.
Nice.
He was a big fan of, like, Macho Man and Chris
Mm.
Jericho, so he took a lot of inspiration from them, so that's kind of what I grew up seeing before I ever saw anything from WWE or anything like that. I didn't know that existed when I was, like before I was, like, 7, I think?
Mm.
6 or 7? I don't know, actually. I'm terrible with, like, how old I was with stuff like that, but my earliest memories are my dad and a bunch of his friends, and just those are the people that I looked up to when I was little. Definitely not, like, where I aim to be anymore
Mm.
because, like, I wanna get signed at this point, but they were my heroes when I was a child. But I think I started watching NXT around the time that it first started. So, I don't know what year that was, but my favorite was Bailey at that time. So
Mhm.
that's some of my earliest memories of TV wrestling.
And it's funny you mentioned Bailey because you could definitely see some aspects in your character of the early Bailey, the hugger gimmick. When I try to describe your character, I would say if you had to watch somebody else to kind of get that vibe, I would say like that early Bailey, maybe a Willow Nightingale, you know, that proper smiley baby face that comes out. They're the two
Both
that I
of those
would say.
mean a lot to me, actually. I
Mm,
really like Willow Nightingale too. Um, My first set of gear was kinda based off of Bailey. Obviously, like,
Mm,
with the anime stuff I do, it was designed after, the main character of My Hero Academia,
mhm.
but the fact that I was wearing pants and had, like, a sports bra top was 100% Bailey.
Right. You just mentioned your dad as well, and we've actually got some clips here throughout his career. Some quite new clips, some very, very old clips.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
so, like speaking of your dad, obviously Chris Solar, for people who may not know, um, what was it like kind of growing up and watching him wrestle? And how does it feel now to kind of have him in your corner as well for some events?
So, I feel like it was so normal for me, I couldn't really explain the difference, if that makes sense, but having him in my corner is I feel like I got super lucky with that because
Mm,
there are so many people whose parents don't support them in wrestling or
yeah,
they just don't understand it and they just don't know how to back them up. But having my dad and even my mom, she managed my dad for a little while. So she
right.
kind of gets it too. And she also tried to train, but she was like, no, I'm not doing this. But I feel very blessed to have two parents who are very supportive of my career and who go out of their way to help me. Like my dad travels almost everywhere with me unless
Mhm,
we just can't get him a plane ticket. Because there's a lot of weirdos in wrestling,
yeah.
but like at the same time, those weirdos are still people who support me. So I appreciate them anyway, if that makes sense. I don't know how to say other than weirdos. I don't wanna sound insensitive, but there's a lot of people who are like, they prey on female wrestlers or male wrestlers for that matter. My dad is there to protect me from that and to kinda keep me grounded too, because as wrestlers do, sometimes we get a big head, and he's there to make sure like,
Right.
"Hey, kid, take a step back. Calm down."
Um, like, what does your dad think of your career so far now? And was he always enthusiastic about you becoming a wrestler, or did he try and dissuade you from it at first? I know he must have come round to the idea at some point because you mentioned your gear. I think he actually got you the gear that you had designed yourself. Was that correct?
He did, yeah.
Right.
I think the first bit of it I got was my elbow pads and knee pads. He got them for
Hmm.
me for a Christmas present. I think shortly after I started training where he wrestled at.
Hmm.
Definitely before I started training at Palmetto Wrestling Academy. Um, he did not like the idea of me wrestling at first. When I was like 7, I was like, "Hey dad, can I be a wrestler?" He was like, "No, no, you cannot. You're clumsy. You're gonna get hurt." And I'm sure in the back of his head, he had the like, the women's wrestling has a stigma, especially
Mm,
at that time. It was like just starting to get out of that,
right.
and he knew that there are a lot of dangers in wrestling as far as being in the ring and as far as being around people. Not everybody has your best interest at heart, and I am a very sensitive person, and I was a way more sensitive kid, so he knew I probably couldn't handle it at that time. But when I was, like, 14, I believe, I kinda started to go through a little bit of a darker time,
Mm,
with getting bullied and just having some issues in middle school because I was a weird kid.
mm.
Who isn't? Um, but he figured I needed an outlet, so he's like, "Hey, Erica, you wanna take a bump today?" Like, we were just at the show, he's like, "The ring's empty, you wanna take a bump?" I was like, "Yes, I absolutely do, thank you." Um, but it kinda just stuck from there, and he was like, "Alright, if this is what you wanna do, we are going to commit to it, and you are going to put in the effort, no holding back. Are you all in?" And I was like, "Yes, I am." I still have days where I'm kinda like, "Man, am I all in? I'm tired." But overall, I have 0 regrets.
Mm. I've heard you say before that when you first started training, it didn't say come as like second nature at first because in your words, I believe, you weren't a gifted athlete. Say, um, it's okay to say because I believe in your words, right? And but you also said that you were a good learner and you were prepared to, put in the hours and really dig into pick up this trade. Um, what were those like those kind of like early training sessions where maybe you were seeing other people kind of were more athletically gifted early on, picking up things. What was it like kind of in those early days, kind of finding your feet?
Honestly, I doubted myself a lot,
Mm,
at that time. It's like, even when I was just training where my dad wrestled,
mm,
there were so many people, most of them had already been training for a long time, most of them were already on shows. They were also grown men, and I was a 14-year-old girl. I was tiny, I was, like, this big around. Maybe, like, 100 pounds soaking wet, so and also the first ring that I started in was completely made of wood, and the padding was, like, this thick and did not budge when you landed on it.
nice.
So it was a little bit harder for me to pick it up at first, and then once I started going to the academy, I had had a good bit of time off because of COVID. Um, so I started at the academy in, like, 2020 when I was 15, I think, turning
Mhm,
16 in, like, a few months, I could be wrong. But it was definitely very difficult to see how easily other people picked stuff up,
mm,
and so a little lore here, if you will.
yeah.
At the academy, when I first started training, we had to have 2 separate classes, on the days that I would or every day that there would be training, because you could only have so many people in a room at one time. There was a long time where I felt like I wasn't getting anywhere, so I was like, "Hey, dad, would you mind if I took part in both classes so that I can try to learn a little bit
Mm.
faster so that I can keep up with everybody else?" And he was like, "I mean, if that's what you wanna do, you're gonna be tired when you get to school," but I was like, "I don't care, it's worth it." Um, but yeah, that's I've kind of always had the mindset with where my athleticism is so it's very similar to Deku from My Hero Academia. I've always had to put in twice the effort that everybody else has because I'm not a naturally gifted athlete. I'm not like I still am not as athletic as a lot of people I get to have matches with. I kind of just pretend I'm athletic sometimes. I am a lot more athletic than I used to be, but I'm not a high flyer. I like to have my feet firmly planted on the ground as much as I can because I'm afraid of heights, and, uh, I don't do heights, I will have a panic attack, but, like, I'm saying "like" a lot, I apologize. I'm trying to find my words.
It's okay. I'm exactly the same. I sometimes if I ever watch these back, I'm like, why did I say like so many times? I swear I don't say that many times in real life. It's a thing. We all do it.
I Yeah, I'm not a naturally gifted athlete. I've had to put in a lot of effort to get to where I am even now, and I've looked up a lot of stuff that'll help with my athleticism, but oh my goodness, they are exhausting. I've been implementing them a lot into, my gym sessions when I go to the gym, and brother, I am hurting, okay? This is not for the faint of heart. Being not athletic, being in an athletic business is not easy, but I'm making it work. And if anybody else, if you think you're not athletic enough for wrestling, you'll learn. I promise.
But the class that you trained with that you mentioned, I believe I've heard a story that you all or they all graduated at the same time, but because you were a little bit younger, you kind of had to watch them all graduate at that one time. What was it like kind of going to that show and kind of seeing them all there, the people that you trained with? Because it could have had the opposite effect. It seems to have lit a fire under you and you wanted to you kind of set in your head, right, I'm going to be there. Whereas it could have had the opposite effect. It could have really deflated you at that time. How did you kind of overcome that?
So, my trainer, Ethan Case, actually made me feel a lot better about it because before the show started, he announced to the crowd that I was supposed to be part of the class, but because I am not 18 yet, I can't graduate with my class. and he had the entire crowd booing the South Carolina Athletic Committee. It was I
There you
was
go.
sobbing when he did that too, because I was like, "Oh my gosh." Like, the only other person that's really expressed that they feel sorry for me, like, I don't want people to feel sorry for me, I don't know
Mm,
how else to phrase that. But, like, the only person I really had at the time was my dad, because I didn't want people to think that I wasn't happy for my classmates. So,
yeah.
my dad was the one that was helping me get through it before their actual debut, and the day of, like, they got out there and they had an amazing match, especially for the first time being on an actual show. They all had an amazing match, and I was super proud of them, I was super happy for them, and on top of that, with my trainer making that announcement beforehand, it just really lit a fire under me, because they were like, "Yeah, you're gonna be here with us at some
Mm.
point, like, just keep going." I was very lucky to have people who support me. Um, that's yeah. I always feel like a failure if I even have the thought of like, "Oh, I'm gonna give up." Like, it happens sometimes. It's normal, it's natural, it's if something's exhausting, you're like, "Man, I just don't wanna do this anymore," but I just have to take a step back and be like, have to remember that girl that
Mm.
wanted nothing more than to just debut. I'm like, "Okay, it's time to go."
Now, in these interviews, for people who maybe watch a few of these ones that I do on the channel, I always try and go back to the person's origin and their very first match if I can find it. I'm not sure if this is your very first match, but I know it is one that's maybe early on in your career. Is one of the scramble matches that you had. Um, so when you
I
go back,
believe that's my second match, but
right? Okay.
close enough.
Yeah. Well, that's it. If we go back to like say your second ever match, how much if you ever I see you pulling a face there, but if
You
you
see this footage, I'm like, "I
yeah,
haven't watched this in a really long
if
time."
you go back and kind of like watch this, how much can you see like in your character how much has evolved and how much you've improved and things like that?
Oh, so much. Oh my goodness. I saw that little clip of what I did. I'm like, "Oh, I could make that look so much better now. Holy crap." Even that looks better. Oh, I don't hit that anymore. I should start hitting that again. Sorry, getting distracted. I had very little confidence at this point because just in myself as a person, not necessarily just as a performer. I've always been a very low self-esteem person.
Mhm.
So I've kind of had to teach myself, and my dad has helped me a lot, and my trainers have helped me a lot with, "Hey, believe in yourself because you're gonna give up on yourself before we do." And they meant that. They
Mhm.
absolutely meant that. And it's been very helpful to have them by my side as I've grown as a wrestler. Um, but even since then, I've put in a lot of effort into training to get better, and I've man, watching that clip, I actually feel pretty good about myself right now because I'm a much better performer, and I feel like I have a better grasp on my character now because I had an idea of what I wanted to do, but I wasn't like the great I'm not saying I'm a great actor now, but I didn't have the acting aspect of it down, if that
Mm.
makes sense. Because playing a character in wrestling is very similar to playing a character like in a play or something. It's not
Yeah.
the same thing. I was a theater kid. It's not the same thing. But it definitely helps knowing how to inhabit and embody a character. And I'm definitely a lot better at that now. And even with like my wrestling, I oh, I saw I tried to hit something and then I fell and I'm like, "Oh, okay. That was a footwork issue for sure." I feel like thank you for showing me that because I kinda needed that little boost.
But that's I always find this so interesting because I guess seeing wrestling because it's a performance art the same as like if you're starting your first ever band, you always kind of want to get out there and play in front of a crowd. And sometimes maybe you're not ready, or you're always going to keep improving and improving. So, kind of going back then to kind of seeing how you were at that stage, it can have this amazing feeling then because you can say, "Oh wow, I'm so much better. I've grown so much from that point." So I always find it really interesting to go back to those very early matches in people's careers.
For sure, because I I've been very disappointed in a lot of the work that I've done lately just because
Mm,
I expect so much from myself, which is also natural as a human being. We're all always our own worst critics. But now that I think about it, like I really have grown a lot and I'm still progressing and I'm allowed to mess up sometimes. And that's okay. We're all allowed to mess up. But that definitely makes me feel better about any performance I've had recently.
But one of the things that I really admire about you, and you brought it up in this interview a little bit. You've mentioned things like imposter syndrome and things like that. Every interview I've heard you speak about it, and you speak about it openly, so I hope you don't mind me bringing it up here, is
Oh no.
living with things like anxiety and ADHD. And, I can kind of sympathize is the wrong word. I get empathize, I guess, because I know what living with anxiety is like. I don't know what living with ADHD is like, but what is it like kind of trying to live with those in your wrestling career? Because I know a lot of it could hold you back and kind of could bring you back. How do you kind of, I know you've got a good support network, like you mentioned, how much your dad often speaks to you and bigs you up, as did your coach as well. So, what is it kind of like living with those and trying to keep telling yourself, no, actually, I can do this, when parts of you are telling you the complete opposite?
So the anxiety part, I usually would get really bad anxiety before I went through a curtain.
Mm,
Um, and I took psychology classes in high school, so I know a little bit about like what the mental chemicals does to your body physically. If you're about to have a panic attack, your thoughts completely shut down.
mhm,
So I had to learn how to calm myself down and like lower my heart rate so that I could think like when I went through the curtain. Because one thing that gives me like the worst anxiety for my matches is doing my entrance because I hate messing things up. I hate like tripping and falling in front of people and it that just makes me really nervous.
mm,
But a lot of people say that the entrance is the most important part of the match because especially for a debut, because that is you introducing who you are as a babyface or a heel. Like if you don't get the appropriate reaction in your entrance, you failed. That's not true, by the way. You can absolutely change that once you get to a match, but a lot of people think that, and I've heard that a lot from a lot of different people. So it always makes me super anxious. But if I just take a second to breathe before I go out the curtain, pretend nothing else exists
mm,
until my cue is there, I'm just fine because, like, adrenaline scientifically, you get adrenaline wherein you are in a situation where your body is like, "Hey, it's time to run away or fight."
mhm,
And that's not a good time to get, like, that kind of adrenaline rush. So it's kind of like a I don't know how to explain it. I've just gotten better at controlling it, if that makes sense. And that was a lot of effort that I had to put in myself. Nobody taught me how to do that. I had to teach
mm.
myself how to do it. The ADHD thing, oh boy. Caffeine. And creatine, actually. Creatine, my trainer was like, hey, I did a lot of research, and creatine is supposed to help with like ADHD depression slumps. He was right. I've been a lot more productive since I started taking creatine.
Wow.
Um, it's kind of crazy. But especially with the ADHD thing, my dad has helped me a lot because he also has ADHD and he's like he really kind of keeps me in check. He's like, "Hey,
Mm,
are you supposed to be doing something right now?" "Yes, I am. Thanks, dad."
mm,
um and as far as like promos and stuff too, that's like a big part of what I do as a character.
mhm,
My dad sometimes will come up with a concept and he's like, "I want you to build on this concept and make something crazy out of it." I'm like, "Okay, I can do that." It's kind of like oh my god, I'm so bad at explaining this. It's everybody has their own little unique ways of getting through things, and this is mine. So my dad working with me really helps my ADHD and my anxiety a good bit too. Um, because he kind of knows what it's like to deal with it. Definitely on a bit of a smaller scale, but if he can tell me, "Hey, take a step back and just calm down, go get some coffee and take a minute to think about it," then like that's what I have to do. And sometimes it doesn't work and it's just like I have to force a thought and then I'm on a roll, if that makes sense. I don't know anything I said.
No, it definitely did. Um, you're obviously this huge fan of anime. You've incorporated it, not just your name, into your outfits, into your character, even your poses, your mannerisms, things like that. What was the first anime that kind of got you into that genre?
The very first anime I ever watched, I was around 5 years old. It's called Inuyasha.
Mm.
That is like it's Inuyasha and My Hero Academia. Oh, you can't see that. They're like neck and neck because Inuyasha is like it's a nostalgic thing. It's kind of a romance action anime and it's
Mm.
very long, but it has a special place in my heart. But that's the first anime I ever watched, and the first episode scared the life out of me
Right.
because I was a scaredy cat when I was a kid. I didn't like monsters. I didn't like creepy things. And then the main thing of this anime is demons. And then in the first episode, there's this really massive, terrifying lady centipede. And I don't like bugs either.
Right.
It freaked me out. That is the very first anime I ever watched. But when I was training, like right when I first started training, my dad's best friend told us to watch My Hero Academia. And I resonated so much with the main character, Deku or Midoriya, that I was like, this is my character. He's 14, he's getting himself into a business, starting to train for something that his body can't handle, and he wants nothing more than to be like his idol.
Mm.
And nobody believes in him. Everybody bullies him. He's tiny, he's skinny, and he's a weirdo and he doesn't know how to talk to people out and he cries a lot. And I was like, that's me in a nutshell. Not a boy.
I asked Kid Bandit the same question, right? Because they came on the channel, and recently this year, me and my wife have watched Death Note for the third time now. Watched the whole series because we loved it. It's the first one we watched together, and then we loved it, and then every few years we go back and we're like, should we start it again? Should we start? So we do. We finished it again this year. So for people who maybe don't know that much about anime, hypothetically, maybe we've just watched Death Note. What kind of anime would you recommend to them? What would you suggest would be a good kind of beginner's anime to get into?
Oh boy, I don't think I've watched any beginners anime. I feel like a lot of people would say Naruto. I've never seen Naruto,
Mm.
but I feel like that's a lot of people's like first anime. And if you can get past the tropiness of Naruto, you can watch any anime.
Okay.
Um, or Dragon Ball Z even, because that one's pretty tropey, but it's like the classic anime. I'm
Mm.
gonna be honest, I tried to watch it and I couldn't get through it. Not because I didn't like it, but because I have a very short attention span and then I forgot about it
Mm.
because it's longer. I watch a lot of shorter
Right.
anime,
Mm.
and typically, if I get into an anime when it's early on in how many episodes are out, I will probably end up finishing it. Kind of like with My Hero, we started it pretty early in the game, I think. I could be wrong. I don't know.
Mm.
um, Another good one, it's kind of older. Actually, it is old. It's an old anime. Cowboy Bebop. That's a good one.
Mm.
Um, my dad's favorite anime is called Trigun. That's also a really good. Uh, I don't know if it's a starter anime, but it's kinda easier to digest. It's got some, like, deep meanings and stuff
Mm,
in it, but it's not quite as tropey. It's weird, but it's not as tropey.
right, okay. I'll definitely jot them down. I'll put it past her, see which one we're gonna go to next. Um, Something that you managed to do in your relatively short career is not just the US indie scene. You've also had experiences working for the different TV shows as well, because you've been on Ring of Honor. You had a match there and a match for NWA as well. What was it like kind of working for those companies as well? Because obviously that's different to just the local crowd that are in the building at that time. Because a TV audience, things are different. What was it like kind of working for both those two for those matches? And were there any similarities between the two?
There are definitely some similarities for sure. There was also a lot of differences just
Mm,
because of the position I was put in for NWA. I was in a triple threat and I was given a good bit more in the match to do. Um, but if I'm being honest, I was not ready for the NWA taping. I was not in a point in my career where I really should have been there because I had not had that many matches at that point, and I didn't have a great grasp on my character, but I'm really glad I had that experience, and I'm very grateful that I was there so early in my career, like, they put that faith in me to be there. Um, but I definitely would do a lot better now, and I would've probably done better, at doing what they asked me to do. For Ring of Honor, it was I don't wanna say easy, but, um I definitely was a bit more ready for it than I was for NWA just because I'd had more experience with wrestling different people at the time.
mm,
Um, and I got to work with Nyla Rose, and she's one of the most like amazing human beings I've ever met in my life.
mm,
She was so cool to me. It's like she just treated me like I was a human being, and that's really all you can ask for. Like, not that the girls at NWA didn't; they absolutely did. They were great to me. Um, but Nyla Rose was somebody that I had been watching on TV since I was 14 years old. I told her that too, and she was like, "Oh, kid, don't tell me that. That makes me feel old." I was like, "I'm sorry." Um, they were both definitely fantastic experiences. I do feel that if I was put in either of those positions now, I would have done loads better
mm,
because I had a lot to clean up at both times in my career. Not that I don't now, I definitely do, but
mm.
I have a little bit more confidence in myself and being in front of so many people, like, both places had so many people there already, and I was like, "Oh my god, I have stage fright," so it's gotten a lot better, uh, in the last year, I think. I think even in the last 6 months, it's gotten a lot
Mm.
better.
I feel like it can almost be a double-edged sword in a way because when you like even now you're still relatively new to the wrestling scene, I would say. Um, but because you kind of when you debuted, you had this great look straight away. The promo pictures were great straight away. Not everybody kind of gets that kind of aspect of it spot on straight away. Some people, they work for years and years, and then they find a gimmick or a look, and they're like, that's what I've been searching for. That's it. Whereas because you kind of came out of the blocks, kind of, it looked fully formed, even though you were still so early in your career. Getting like if somebody just saw your photos straight away, or maybe even like the entrances and things, they'd think, oh, actually, they've been doing that for a long time. And then you kind of forget, oh no, hang on, they're really, really new. It could kind of it definitely is a double-edged sword, I think.
Absolutely, it is. I have a lot of people who are like who wanna book me, they're like, "How long have you been working?" And I'm like, "2.5 years," and they're like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's I I definitely, I definitely had that, like, sorted out a lot more because of my dad and my trainer. Like when I was still training, I did vlogs towards the end of like right before I graduated. Um and that kind of helped my camera presence a little bit. Not being in front of a crowd, but talking to a camera, and it definitely helped, I think, with my promos for sure because I'm more confident talking to a camera and like all of that stuff, like especially in comparison to what I think I would be at if I hadn't have done those.
Mm.
Um, I was trying to say that in a lot less words, but I was like, I don't know how to say this. Um, but that definitely helped, and the fact that my dad did go through like the awkward phase of not knowing what to do for promo shots and not
Mm.
knowing what to do for he was actually a lot better at entrances than he's ever been given credit for. Especially early on in his career too, because nobody taught him how to do that. He figured it out on his own, and then he taught me how to do that, and also having my trainer Ethan, like, helping me with that because I watched both of their matches, I watched their entrances, I watched the way that they carried themselves, like, they're so different, but at the same time, like, that is the main reason that I'm like, so confident with my entrance. Even if that is, like, my most dreaded part of every match,
Yeah.
it's still something that I'm a little bit more confident in, and I'm getting a lot better at it now, especially.
Somewhere
Did I answer the
else you
question?
oh, yeah, yes, it did.
I
Uh,
don't remember what the question was. I ramble too
no,
much.
I said yes, you did. I couldn't remember what I'd even asked, so no, we're both okay. Um, somewhere else that you've had a string of matches was CZW, and there's kind of a funny story I think that led to your kind of bookings there. Um, I think you mentioned on a podcast, didn't you? You helped like setting up a show or something like that. Once is that how you kind of got introduced to them?
Yes. So, I was headed home from a different booking, and this just happened to be on the way, and Kid Bandit messaged me, um, and she was like, "Hey, you should come by and help set up, get your name like, talk to the promoter, get
Mm,
your name in, so that, maybe they'll book you in the future." And I showed up, and I helped set up, and I was in the middle of the ring about to help with, ropes, I think, and Gabby comes up to me. She's, um, what's the word for it? She's like the, booker's right hand,
mm,
woman. So, she comes up and she's like, "Hey, do you have your gear with you?" And I'm like, "Yes, I do." She's like, We had someone who, had to back out really last minute. Can you work today?" I was like, "Yeah, I can. I absolutely can." And that's something that my dad and all of my trainers have always been like, always have your gear with you if you're gonna go somewhere
mhm.
because this might happen. And it happened. And I was like, oh my gosh, they weren't lying. Not that I thought they were, but still, having it happen to you is such a different experience than being told this might happen. And I had a match that night, and I think it went pretty good considering how far into my career I was. I saw those clips that you just put on the screen, and I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yes.
But to be fair, that was a while ago. Um, Especially with how much my character has evolved because I did start with the anime superhero aspect of it, but now I'm kind of evolving it to being just an anime character, like, with the
Mm,
hero aspect still in it, but I'm kinda going to more a little bit of Sailor Moon with, like, the ditzy part of it and the, like, overly, like, girly part. That's why I added, like, a skirt to my gear and getting some more gear with skirts on them, and I'm knocking stuff over, sorry. Um, a lot of, girly anime characters are a little bit more I don't I don't know how to phrase this. Not lewd, that's not the word I'm looking for. They're a little bit more showy, they're a little more,
mm,
um, trying to think of PG words here. Uh, risque. Thank you, Dad.
Mm. Yeah.
That's the word I was looking for. We're just a little bit more mature too.
S
Um, even if they're supposed to be teenagers, so we're gonna ignore that part. Uh, um, like I'm kind of leaning towards that because I'm 20 years old, about to turn 21 soon, and I feel like just evolving the character will help my chances of getting signed, I hope. And I can't just be the same innocent 14-year-old Airica forever. And a lot of people I know don't really like that, but it makes money. That's all I'm saying.
something that, definitely stands out to me when I watch your matches is that you seem like somebody who is destined for a if not a short trip, a prolonged trip to Japan, whether it be Ice Ribbon, Stardom, Marigold, Tokyo Joshi, Choco Pro, any of these promotions, because your character it just seems to me like it would just fit there so much. What would it be like for you? Is it a dream of yours to go to Japan for like one of these prolonged tours?
Absolutely. Like being somebody who's really loved like that kind of culture since I was like 5 years old, that is an
Mhm.
absolute dream for me. I wanted to go to Japan before I started wrestling. It's like
Right.
sure, because I also am a really big Nintendo fan. I love
Mm.
Nintendo games, and me and my parents played Nintendo games a bunch together when I was a kid. Like I've always been a Nintendo kid. Um, so wrestling in Japan and just getting the opportunity to visit Japan overall is a massive dream of mine, and I really, really hope I get to have a Japan tour soon because I see so many women on the indies going to Japan, and
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Me? I want to go to Japan.
One of the things that also stands out about you is the promo videos that you film. I know so your dad even appears in some of these as well. They've got like a really unique charm to them. I think it's kind of like these kind of like quirky humor, kind of homemade videos, which really helps you stand out. That wasn't like a almost sound like a backhanded compliment there, but it's not. It's genuine compliment. Because some people they want to have the best backgrounds and the lighting and everything, whereas these are like the complete opposite atmosphere, but it makes them stand out so much. How much fun is it to make these videos?
Usually, it is a lot of fun to make these. Sometimes I have to film them when I'm absolutely exhausted, or it'll take 6 hours to film it, and some sort of argument on my half of like, "No, I don't wanna do it like that," because my dad is the one that has, like, a lot of artistic visions for shots, and I get
Right.
them too a lot, like, I'm learning a lot from him, and he's like, You're almost there, but this will make it a little bit better." And I'm like, "But this is gonna be good." And he's like, "Trust me, kid, I know what I'm talking about. You're still learning. Come on." It's usually like a little not really arguing, but like a little bit of bickering because I'm a headstrong 20-year-old girl and he's a
Right.
dad. It's
Yeah.
kind of normal. When you have a good relationship with your dad, you're gonna yell at him. um and he'll yell back. He's looking at me. He's like,
Yeah.
but usually they are a lot of fun and they're almost always worth it. I've had one or two that I'm like, that didn't come out the way I wanted it to. And there's the ones that get the most attention. And I'm like, what the frick?
Always.
It's
Yeah.
not one of my favorite ones. It always gets the most attention. I think there was one we posted recently, or like, this isn't gonna get a whole lot of attention. And I got like 500 likes. I was like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it's always worth it in the end.
One of the things recently, Matt Cardona put out a video and it was him talking. I'm not sure if it was from a seminar or something. And he was saying it blows his mind how much people don't do promos for the shows that they're coming up on and they don't promote it. and he said he doesn't care if there's going to be 50 people there or 50,000. He's always going to do a promo. He's always going to promote it as if it's the biggest thing coming up for him, and he said it helps not only him, it helps the promotion. If you do well for them, they're going to bring you back. How much do these promo videos that you always put so much effort into, how much does that help the character of Airica Demia?
I feel like it helps quite a bit. If I can get my character down in front of a camera and in front of an audience that like, well, not really in front of an audience. If I can get my character down in front of a camera, not being in front of an audience
Mm.
that will have people in it judging me, then when I go out there to the audience, it doesn't like matter what they think because I'm just going to be able to channel what I did in front of the camera in the ring because and I'm not great at it yet, but I'm getting better. I still have that natural like teenage thing of be afraid of being judged by people, which I'm getting over very slowly. It definitely helps a lot. And in the moments with doing the promos, my dad helps me kind of let go of any worries that I have about being judged with my character because my character at this point does the whole ooh woo thing, and a lot of people think that that's really cringy, and I get really self conscious about it. But I went out through the curtain, so I added a "Who's ready to go beyond with your hero?" and then an ooh woo before my song when I go out, and like I was kinda second guessing it. I was talking to my dad, I was like, "What if these people think it's cringy?" And he's like, "Just do it. It doesn't matter." And it played this past weekend, and it got new woo chant, and I was like, "Alright, let's go."
Yeah.
It's definitely very helpful because my dad can reassure me, he's like, "Hey, who cares? Some people think it's cringy. Some people might not know what it is at all and think it's cool because it's you." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." It's a good point, I guess.
Thank you so much for coming on the show today. I've really wanted to get you on for a while now, so I'm glad we finally got this sorted. I'm going to throw up some clips now of all matches and moments throughout your career. If you had to say to like a brand new fan or somebody who's just discovering you through this interview, even maybe, what kind of or what matches would you suggest for them to check out of your career so far?
Hmm. Um, oh, that's a good question. Definitely definitely my match from Spark with, Miyu and Vert Vixen. Um, my match with Savannah Evans at RVA for sure. Um, I have a match with Leah Knight, I believe the promotion was called Doghouse. That's one that I'm very proud of. Um, and then also my match with my dad. And I recommend kind of watching the promos that kind of lead to that match because there's like a very long story of why I wrestled my dad. It is very funny, but it gets very serious and kind of sad at some points. If you laugh the whole time, that's fine. I cried watching my own promos back. um, but that's a match that I'm very proud of because since I started wrestling, I wanted to have a match with my dad. But the other matches are matches that I'm also very proud of because they just show how much I feel I've progressed as a performer, and I get to work with people who are better workers than me or workers who are just as good as me. And either way, they bring me up and they make me better and they make me like they challenge me. And that's always a good thing because you never want to stay in the same place. Um, those are definitely some matches. Other than that, I definitely have other ones. But I have ADHD, so I can't remember. That's another problem with ADHD is I can't remember everything all the time.
But no, again, thank you so much for coming on today, and thank you for talking about things like that because I think the more people who are open about talking about these things, even people that maybe don't have these things, we can kind of learn and understand about these different things as well. So it's definitely helpful for everybody when these things are definitely brought up. Is there anything you want to promote? Anything you got coming up before we close up today?
I actually have a little list.
Brilliant.
um, so this Saturday, July 12th, I have a scramble match at Dreamwave Wrestling. It is the Summer Spectacular show, which they say is going to be the biggest party of the summer. I'm looking forward to it. I will be wrestling Story Denali, Ballin Gray, Brittany Brooks, and Becca. And I'm very excited. I've been in a match with Brittany Brooks before, but other than that, I've never been in a match with these girls, and I feel like it's gonna be a good time. Then on Sunday, I have the biggest match of my career so far against former WWE superstar Nixon Newell, I think is how you say her name. And I actually was a really big fan of her when she was in NXT
Mm.
because I had the superhero gimmick thing going on, and a lot of people were making me feel bad about it. And then she came out of the curtain in Captain Marvel gear. I was like, no, if she could do it, I can do it too. Like that's really cool for me. So I'm really, really looking forward to this. Um, yeah, that's what I've got this weekend. Oh, that's at Bullpen Pro Wrestling in Kentucky.
And it's a weird coincidence because Nixon's actually from this part of the world in Wales as well. So it's going to be a hard toss up now. Do I support the hometown hero? Do I support my last guest? It's going to be tricky. um, Thank you so much for coming on
I'm
today.
gonna blame
There you go. Yeah, stay on the line. We'll do a proper goodbye as soon as we finish as well. There we go, guys. Another interview in the bag today. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said at the end of that interview, it's always important, I think, for people to talk about these different types of things because the more that we understand about different conditions and what people are going through, I think it's better for everybody because we all kind of understand that not everybody's the same and some people work in different ways, but we can all work together. It's an amazing thing. And Erica or Erica is definitely somebody to look out for in the future because to me there's definitely something there and whether it be signing to somewhere in the US or doing those trips to Japan, I could definitely see something coming up in the very near future. But as always, guys, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below as well and look after each other and hopefully we'll see you guys soon. Bye guys.